Hello, wonderful listeners. Today we have chapter 16, and chapter 15 was a very exciting chapter because Aunt Caroline comes back to rescue Elika, and she brings with her 3 Icelanders to help. But now that Elika has gotten to know the ice giant, she feels really bad about leaving the ice giant all alone. So what can they do? Well, let's find out what happens in chapter 16. The 3 Icelanders threatened the ice giants, but Elika didn't want to leave anymore. She wanted to help. "We can't just leave her there all lonely," Elika said. "I mean, I can think of one plan, but it's a little bit crazy." Aunt Caroline sighed deeply. "Okay, Elika," Aunt Caroline said. "We have a little time before the torches burn out. Let's call a truce for the moment and discuss your idea." "Truce," the ice giant said. "Yes, I know that word. We will have a peaceful discussion with no fires." The Icelandic couple backed away from the giant and crouched down to rest, but the old woman came closer to the giant. "Giants," the older woman said, and pointed her rifle at the giant. "They have always made trouble. This is our land, not yours." "Mom," the man with the torch said, "please lower the gun. This giant seems reasonable at least." The grandmother made a harumph noise, but she sat down and lowered the gun at least part way. She kept her eyes on the giant. "These are friends of my colleague Edmund's," Aunt Caroline told Elika. "You know, Edmund is the one who left us the crampons and the jackets." "Well, how did they get here?" Elika asked. "I did a lot of texting," Aunt Caroline said. "Edmund gave me their address and I drove out to their house. That's why it took so long." "Well, I'm so glad you came," Elika said. "We were just about to change caves." "We should have gone earlier," the ice giant mumbled to herself. Aunt Caroline put a protective arm around Elika's shoulder. "So what is your idea, Elika?" Aunt Caroline asked. The ice giant leaned towards them from the cave to hear. Elika told them her plan, which was, Elika had to admit, slightly crazy. Elika's plan involved the ice giant going to the Himalayas and meeting the amber giants. Elika had no idea if they would get along, but at least they were both giants. When she finished, neither Aunt Caroline or the giant seemed to know what to say. They stared at Elika with blank faces. "So," Elika said after a long silence, "what do you think about my idea?" "You are saying I should move to the mountains in this faraway country, Nepal?" the ice giant said. "But I have always lived in this land. For 350 years, my feet have known this ice." "Isn't it time for a change then?" Elika said. The ice giant shook her big head. "You are young," she said. "You do not know what it is to leave one's homeland." Aunt Caroline was thinking more practically. She took out her journal and sketched a flowchart and an airplane. "Let's say the ice giant did want to go to Nepal," Aunt Caroline said, tapping the page with her pen. "How could we get her there? I don't think we have a plane big enough, and even if we did, I'm not sure we could keep it at a freezing temperature." "Maybe by ship?" Elika said. Aunt Caroline nodded. "It would take longer," Aunt Caroline said, "and we'd need to move her to a truck once we hit land. But yes, it may be more workable than an airplane." She made more notes. The ice giant was quiet for a long time. Then she turned to Elika. "I might come," she said, "but I need to talk with you privately." She gave Aunt Caroline a fierce look. "No way," Aunt Caroline said. "The kid sticks with me." "Then I will not go," the ice giant said, "and I will moan in Elika's dreams as before." Elika felt her face go pale. She really didn't want to dream all those horribly lonely dreams. She'd never be able to sleep again. Okay, you can talk to me, Elika said, but you have to promise not to try to steal me. The ice giant stared at her. You will only come with me into the cave if I promise? The giant said. Elika nodded, trying to look confident. I would not make a promise with a human, the ice giant said, except for you. I will make the ice promise. The ice giant closed her eyes and breathed very deeply. Her ice blue body turned pink. Elika watched, amazed, as the ice giant mumbled some words, including Elika's name. The giant opened her eyes and went back to her normal color. She lifted her foot. There, inside her foot, was writing in the ice. It said, I will not steal Elika. Elika was speechless. So you will come speak with me in the cave? The ice giant said. Elika's heart pounded. She was afraid of being alone with the ice giant, but she had to trust her after the ice promise. Yes, okay, Elika said. No way, Aunt Caroline said. The Icelanders jumped off the rocks and came towards the giant, angrily waving the torches and pointing the rifle. Didn't you see the ice promise? Elika said, standing in front of the ice giant to protect her from the fire. I trust her after that. The ice giant blinked, and a warm smile stretched across her face. Thank you, she said. Well, the ice promise was something special, Aunt Caroline said, and creatures like giants are strongly bound by promises in magical ways. Aunt Caroline chewed her lip as she thought. If you're sure, Elika, I'll let you go with the giant alone, Aunt Caroline said, but if anything strange happens, call out. I will enter the cave in 5 minutes, whether or not I hear from you. I need 15 minutes, the ice giant said, her expression cold. We can give you 15, Elika said. Right, Aunt Caroline? 15 and not a second longer, Aunt Caroline said. Silly human timekeeping, the ice giant mumbled and beckoned Elika into the cave. Elika squeezed Aunt Caroline's hand. It will be okay, Elika said, sounding more confident than she felt. She followed the ice giant back into the cave. Could she trust the ice giant? Or was she making a huge mistake? Well, we will find out if the ice giant is trustworthy in chapter 17 in the next video. Okay, see you then. Have a wonderful day or night, whatever it is where you're listening. Bye.